And that's the end of the beeps, which means it is time for the XP Billionaires podcast. This is Ray Fegram, your host for all the RPG talk that you could ask for, unless there's a better podcast out there. And if there is, well, at least let me know about it so I can go check it out. All right, so here I am with my co-hosts, Sky Knight, Irene Rogue, and the Mel Zerker. Sky, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome. And Irene, how are you doing today?
I'm Batman.
You could be worse things, so I'll take it. All right, and Mel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I am excited to start a new game, The Plague Tale: Innocence. I've heard really good things about it, so wish me luck.
Yeah, I've seen some gameplay of it. Definitely not my thing, but if you're into that kind of slight horror-esque thing, you're gonna dig it. I'm sure.
Right, I'll let you know, and then you don't have to play it directly, but you get all the benefit.
Fair enough. All right. So let's get right into this week's episode. So, developers are always looking for ways to increase replayability with their games, especially when it comes to single-player experiences like RPGs. One of those methods is creating multiple endings to the game. In some cases, it's really easy. You can save the game at a certain point and just change the end game conditions to get another ending. But often you do need to start the game all over again and either make different choices or do more side questing in order to get a specific ending that you're looking for, or the sometimes overhyped true ending. This week, I figured we'd discuss the concept of multiple endings and also talk about how in those multiple endings, sometimes an ending is set to be canon, even when you've got so many options on how to end a game. So my first question for the group is, what makes you want to go for more than one ending in an RPG, if you even do? Sky, let's start off with you this week.
Well, it depends. It's usually about how easy it is to go for another ending, combined with how much I actually like the game. If I can see multiple endings easily on one run, and I'm still enjoying the game and want to squeeze more time out of it, then I'll go for multiple endings. If it's not easy to do multiple endings on one run, often I will try and get another ending on a second playthrough.
No, fair enough. That's a good way to put it. I like that. Irene, what about you?
Do I like multiple endings? What makes me go for more than one ending? I don't. That's the long answer. That's the short answer to it. One ending is plenty. I find that there are a few games that actually manage to pull off multiple endings worth seeing. So I'd rather play a single tight ending to the narrative that was carefully constructed rather than a bunch of sort of blah endings. Plus, I'm an adult with a job. I don't have time.
I mean, that's also fair. Absolutely.
Multiple endings is a great idea in theory, but I find that there are only a few developers who can actually pull it off and make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think you're right in that case. Mel, what do you think?
For me, it has to either give me some new content to the story, or it has to help me revisit that content with some new context to it. So when I game, I do it almost entirely for like character and story. I'm not really there for mastering the hardest game there is. So I want a game that's going to encourage me because it's giving me more. It's bringing me deeper into the narrative. So I've been playing Heaven's Vault, for those of you who've been listening. And one thing that's really cool about the second playthrough of that game is once you're done it, the game sort of changes suddenly. And you kind of have the context of the characters you have, and you also have a dictionary of terms. This is a game about being an archaeologist and translating. And you actually have kind of an understanding of the language to start with. And the game does all of its languages and codes kind of randomly, but they build on each other. So when you start the game the second or third or fourth time through, you're going to get more complex segments of text. So from the very first time I was playing on New Game Plus, I got more complex narrative in my very first translation than I got at the end of the first time through. And because you're reading a history, the more context you have, the better the story was, because it's suddenly giving me more about this world. So I was really impressed with how well they did that. Nier does a really good job of making you live with your consequences of deciding whether or not you're going to do another playthrough. I think that's another really good way of tying it into the narrative. I agree broadly. I mean, for the most part, it seems like a cash grab, right? But like sometimes they really get it.
I think when you talk about Nier, you're getting that right. I have not finished even a single playthrough of Nier Automata at this point, I admit. But like I don't know how long the game is supposed to play for each playthrough. But if it's a longer time, I'm less inclined to want to play another run of it, and that's what I've been afraid of. If the one I know I have to play it multiple times to get it, but
So, playing it multiple times is sort of a misnomer when it comes to Nier, in my opinion. At least Nier Automata. The first two runs, yeah, they kind of structure themselves very similarly to, like, oh, I'm playing this from a different perspective. I will see different things. It's going to be the same story over and over. But it's not. And I would say there's not necessarily multiple playthroughs so much as multiple segments to one united story. Like it's still like a straight line in its own way.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I was thinking of the original Nier when I was talking about, but both are
Yeah.
true, right? And it's true, right? Like it's almost like a second playthrough is just more of the main story. Like the ending is not really the ending.
No, and you get to play through 3 and everything changes completely. And it's bigger than what you initially thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope people going into those games know what they're getting themselves into.
Though I would say
Definitely
like
never made it through.
each run, like at least for endings A and B, it's like they're not that long if you don't want to do all the side quests. You can like blitz through them in an afternoon.
If I don't want to do side quests, oh
Yeah, I know. The side quests are fun though, so that's the thing. Like you get to do like some pretty cool stuff, and you get like some really nice rewards as well. So they're worth doing. I'm not saying don't do them. I'm just saying like each playthrough I think you could probably do in under 8 hours if you really wanted to. And by the time you get to the second playthrough, like you've already done a ton of the side quests, and it won't ask you to do them again.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I guess that just leaves my opinion overall. I mean, when it comes to the concept of multiple endings, I mean, the game needs to give me a reason to want to play it again. And it has to provide just the right amount of challenge to make the next playthrough more interesting. I mean, I have done an immediate second playthrough of games for more petty reasons than that. I mean, cough, cough, Resonance of Fate Platinum. But I need a really good reason normally. And the problem is with me is that I never actually know what reason that is until it hits me in the moment.
It's got to pull you in.
Yeah, and I don't know what game is going to make me do that, and that's the thing. I usually try to do my research, know whether or not I've got multiple endings to look forward to, and then if it doesn't hook me, then it's not going to happen. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why would you play multiple endings if you're not that into the game? Like,
Well, it's not even if I'm not that into the game. Like I can enjoy the game just fine. I'm happy to have played it through once, but there's got to be some sort of hook to make me want to play it again. That's the big thing, and that's what I don't always know what it could be.
Yeah, it really takes a special game to make me like immediately say, "Okay, I'm going to do a second playthrough of this." Like I can literally count on one hand the number of games that have done that, and one of them was Catherine, actually, that puzzle game.
Interesting. I really liked Catherine. I'm surprised that your immediate thought was to replay it, though. I finished that final fight and I was like, oh, never again.
Oh no, I love the gameplay. Like by the end of that game, I was like, I'm comboing this whole level. Fuck you, if I fail, I'm starting over.
Oh my god, you're a hero.
Yeah, I wanted to combo every fucking level. I really enjoyed the spatial puzzles and the climbing and the aesthetics and the music. So yeah, I immediately did like Catherine with a K's ending to start, and then I did Catherine with a C's ending. So like the you're a good guy ending and you're a douchebag ending. I never actually attempted anything else because I was like, yep, now I'm done.
No, fair enough. All right. Well, let's move on. So the next question I have for you guys. So when an RPG game or series does have an official canon ending, should there be multiple endings included in that game?
I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me particularly. I mean, the canon ending should be the easiest one to get, I think, in most circumstances. And if a sequel comes about, you need to be clear about what ending it follows, particularly if the two games are very close together and involve a lot of the same people. I mean, that's one of the things that's almost immediately established in Shadowheart's Covenant. It hinges explicitly and immediately on Shadowheart's best ending. Bad ending. Shadowheart's bad ending, and that's the right way to do it. Don't make people guess what's canon and what's not. That's just frustrating.
I completely agree there. Like that's one of the things for me is like I don't think there's a need for a canon ending if a direct sequel is expected or even planned. Like as regardless of how difficult it is, as soon as I know there's a canon ending, that's the one I want to go for, and typically no other. If after a while I decide to replay something that hasn't had that sequel planned, maybe I'll go for it. But I don't know. I just like I don't like that kind of branching out into a what if scenario.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me necessarily, but I do think, like I said, making the canon one the easiest one to get is probably the best way to do it.
No, you're that makes sense. I completely agree there. Irene, what do you think?
Well, should there be multiple endings if there's an official canon ending? I mean, my short answer is no. Because, like, it has a canon ending. Like, why would you muddy the waters? And again, often those non canon endings aren't really worth the extra time to get. Near Automata, we were just discussing it. Like, there are lots of endings to each of those segments. But there's also, like, there's 26 endings to this game. Only 5 of them are worth seeing. They're the ones that are on the rails. Like, there's an ending where you eat a fish and you die. That's literally the end of the game. And then there's another one where, like, oh my god, it's right at the beginning of 9S's playthrough B. And, like, there's this little robot who keeps trying to bring, like, oil to this bigger robot. And you have to play as this little robot to start. And then as soon as you get control of 9S, it's not clear where you're supposed to go. And if you run off in the opposite direction, the game automatically ends with a game over. A game over ending where he, like, ran away. And you have to do this segment with the really slow moving robot that takes 1,000,000,000 years to get across the map again. It's not worth it to me usually with the multiple endings. Like, unless they serve the canon ending in some way, it's not necessarily going to be worth it to me to go grab it. Like with Virtue's Last Reward, this is a visual novel style puzzle game for those of you who haven't played them. The Nonary games, check them out. They're fucking everywhere now, and I'm extremely excited about that. It has multiple endings. It does. But 2 of the characters are actually aware of these branching timelines, which means, like, the narrative still builds, you know? They do fun things with the fact that you have these branching paths and multiple endings in order to do something unexpected with them. That I don't mind. If it's all in service to the larger point of the story, it's not so bad, but I find that it's just like, here's the canon ending. Here's some other endings we shat out.
I can agree there. Like I this is a weird concept for me, but like I would prefer a game that doesn't have multiple endings, but multiple ways to get to the same ending. That I think that would be a bit more of an interesting style, especially if you want to have a canon ending. If you want to have multiple perspectives that helps you understand said ending more or anything like that, I think that would be really interesting. Like I think of a game like Dreamfall Chapters, for example. Sky, you can back me up on this one, of course, but you had multiple different decision paths, and you eventually learned how they brought you to the ending, but that ending didn't change. It was always the same ending. And that I like a lot better than having, multiple endings, like where everybody dies or nobody dies or something like that.
Or this one character dies, or yeah, like that's what I prefer, and that's actually why like I didn't necessarily mind the like ending to Mass Effect 3 because it's like cool, it all led down to this one choice. No matter where I go, this is the choice I have to make now.
Yeah.
And it was again in service to the larger narrative, so it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah. Mel, what are your thoughts on all this?
I think I might have to change my opinion. Originally, I was thinking like it's not terrible, right? Like most people, I'm thinking in the premise of that era where every game had a good and an evil ending. And like, okay, well, like I've heard developers say most people do the good ending and then, they'll go back and play evil if they, or they'll plan to play evil if they're going to play good. So maybe I think that does kind of muddle the waters, especially if you get down to like these 17 or 30 endings where they have kind of no real point to them, and this trying to open all but these 5 chests so that you can get the ultimate weapon so you can get to the final ending. That's Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just maybe a bit of a waste of time. Like if you want to do a really crisp story with a really clear narrative to it, then yeah, I maybe I'm against it. I think good job, guys.
It really depends on the game, but I find that most often than not, you're going to get that crisp ending, which is a lot better. Case in point, for a more recent example, Octopath Traveler. You have 8 different endings there, but there's a true ending, and it's impossible to get to, kids.
Of course it
Wah,
is.
wah.
I gave up on like the third bit of everybody's story. I was just like, wow, these things are long.
Uh,
Kind of
that
tedious.
that's exactly what happened to me. Actually, I couldn't agree more. Sky, you managed to make it right into that final true ending dungeon, and I know you didn't complete it, but like you are more of a hero than any of us here right now for that alone.
Well, I got obsessed with the battle system. So,
Oh
I
yeah, I'm
mean,
not saying
Yeah.
it's a.
no, like I'm not saying that. Like I literally just got so sucked into it that into the actual gameplay that may have kept me going a lot longer.
Yeah, I kept waiting for the stories to meet and actually like do one thing.
And they sort of do in the final dungeon, but the final dungeon is hidden and bullshit, so I do not recommend it.
Exactly. So they've hidden their true ending behind a pile of bullshit.
Yep.
And like, is that just, and maybe this is just the cynic in me thinking, but is this like a way to make sure that we like the game is like, oh, it's 70 hours, you're getting your time's worth? Like sometimes it just feels like such a waste, you know?
I mean, for some games it would be. Like I didn't play far enough into Octopath Traveler to make a judgment call on whether or not the story, like the investment of time in the stories was worth it. But like, yeah, for some games it's definitely like that true ending is a way to pad out the running time. It's different if it's like I never really had a problem with quests that would pad out the running time, that were like side quests that would lead you to really hard bosses, that like if you really wanted to attempt it and you wanted to like really like get in, like dig into the mechanics of the system and challenge yourself, go for this thing.
Oh yeah.
But like, you don't have to do that in order to see the ending. Like, eh.
Yeah, like screenboard it, like show us that this is for fun. This is if you like this thing, here's endless randomly generated dungeons. Cool. If I want to play the game endlessly, I'll do that, right? I'm thinking Fire Emblem Three Houses does a pretty good job of this, where you can go on side quests on the map during your kind of down month, and it'll tell you really clearly whether or not those have to do with characters in your party or whether it's just like some guard wants you to go get some stuff, and you can sort of decide like, well, I'm not wasting my time on that.
There's also like Final Fantasy did a really good job of this. Just like make the ultimate weapons so hard to get that by the time you have them, you're max level anyway. Ah!
Tricked you.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts actually. I got ultimate weapon in both of those. I was level 100 by the time I got it. I I fed the boss its teeth. It was awful. The final boss was a joke.
All right. All right. So I got one last question for you guys with regards to the concept of canon endings. I was wondering if you guys had an example of a canon ending that you just did not approve of. Now, if you can word it without spoilers, great. And if not, I will tag spoilers in the description. So be prepared for it just in case, listeners.
Okay, it's going to be Suikoden 2 because this is the only game I could think of where I got really frustrated by the canon ending. It's too good. I know that sounds really strange, but it's idyllic given all that they've been through. The good endings in Suikoden games are otherwise bittersweet, and they should be. They just went through so much over the course of the story. And in Suikoden 2, I just ended the game mad at Nanami. The bad ending is actually more appropriate and more in line with the games and the series' themes. Make the canon ending the most appropriate one, please. There, done ranting.
Now, the one thing about that is you could speculate that since there is such a huge time jump between Suikoden 2 and Suikoden 3, that doesn't have to be the canon ending. I know that's what they've stated, but you could just dismiss it based on that because those characters aren't really referenced again.
No, no, they're not. Which is one of the things I'm actually glad of.
Exactly, right? So it's one thing to think of in that regard. Um, Yeah. I mean, for me, like mine is I'm choosing Mass Effect 2. Now, hear me out on this one because this is a little you got to take a leap of faith on this one for me. So, because Mass Effect 3 would like to hope that you have all these people, the Mass Effect 2 can let you get through the suicide mission without any casualties. Based on that, I accept that as canon. Whether or not it is or isn't doesn't change the fact. But the real fact here is that everyone surviving what that mission was absolutely unrealistic. At least one character should have died, and at least in Mass Effect 1 you got to choose which of those two characters got to die. Why couldn't we have something like that in Mass Effect 2? Just for the sheer realism of the sci-fi adventure. Yes, I know what I just said.
And isn't that the mission they called the suicide mission?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I feel like Mass Effect, broadly speaking, does a really bad job when they try to kill characters off for you because they just stop writing stuff about them and like make me feel bad. Make me feel bad I killed Ashley. I 3 games later, I'm still sure I made the right call.
well. If it's any consolation, I killed Caden, and you know what? It's worth it. And again, Sky, you're gonna back me up on this one. Just to see the drunken Ashley scene in Mass Effect 3, where she's just lying on the floor after having too much to drink.
Nah, kill Ashley. She's racist.
That too, but
Like, really
She's-
racist.
She's so racist, and then the game never really like.
She never has to grow. Ever.
Like in 3, have you heard what she says to Tally if you're dating her?
Oh god,
Oh
no, I
my
didn't.
God.
I was dating Garrus.
Oh my goodness. She like makes some kind of racial slur about her getting her big girl name. I'm like, that's not okay, Ashley. That's not okay. It's been like 5 years. Get your shit together.
And like, I'm gonna push back a little bit and say that like the ending was fine because like it's Shepard. It's Commander Shepard. Commander Shepard is a miracle worker. Commander Shepard came back from the dead. You literally have like a messiah.
yeah, but Shepard wasn't responsible for coming back from the dead. This was no Jesus miracle.
I mean,
Shepard can't take credit for that.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
All right, Irene, do you have any examples?
So I can't think of a canon ending that was like more recent that people would like, especially especially since it didn't have multiple endings. The only game that I could really think of that actually genuinely pissed me off was the ending of Digital Devil Saga 2, but that was like it had one ending and the ending was just dumb.
I mean, it is still a canon ending because it is the only ending. So, but yeah, it was not great.
And like, if I talk about it, I'm gonna probably ruin it for everybody because like, you keep waiting for an answer, and I'll just say, you don't get one. You don't get an answer. Fuck you. No cookies.
My cookies.
That is that game's policy. Fuck you. You don't. You get nothing.
Oh, did you buy our game? Did you like it? Too bad.
Too
Too
bad.
bad.
Hey, I
Lo-
liked getting there. I just didn't like the ending either. But I liked the
Oh
journey at
yeah,
the very
the
least.
journey was excellent, but I was like, what the absolute fuck is this bullshit I am seeing right now on my screen? I was so mad.
I'm sure I'll love it.
I mean, like, maybe? Hard to tell.
I don't know who I was making fun of with that. You or myself.
I don't know. I feel very much like knowing what you're going to be playing, I'm very much like, congratulations, you played yourself.
You know what?
It's like, you just wasted 80 hours.
Okay, based on this conversation alone, Sky, I am challenging you that's the next retro game you play.
Fuck.
Like I said, it's your next retro game. It doesn't have to be right away, but the next time you've got a console thing in between, that's what you got to play.
Fine.
Nice. All right, you all heard it here, folks. So when that happens, we'll hear about it on the podcast because we'll do regular updates. But let's get back to it. Mel, what about your canon ending that was less than stellar?
I'm gonna out myself here as one of those people who did not like the ending of Mass Effect 3. I love the whole series. The game overall was super, super powerful. I'm trying not to get spoilers. There's a bit at the end where you're sitting with your commander, whose name is, why can I not remember?
What, Anderson?
Anderson. Thank you. You're sitting with dear Anderson. And for me, that's the end of the game. um, as far as like the endings go, like, I mean, I guess you could argue there's not a canon ending, but like it's got to be the red ending, right? Because there's the after thing of the ending. So I don't know. Like I the whole premise of 3 is a premise I love in storytelling. It's like this idea where like you gather up all these people you've met, you call upon all these favors, everyone gets a resolution, and you come together and you fight together. And that's a premise I love. And I just felt like it was so undermined by the idea that in the end you're just Shepard and you just get to do everything. It's like, why? Why did I spend the whole game doing all the things I loved to, in the end, just have it be meaningless, in my opinion? So, anyways, that's when I really dislike. I know people will say, what's the meaning of the game? And they'll argue back and forth. But for me, a big part of it was that we need to do this together.
Did you play through the DLC section where like you had that really horrible party and Shepard could not dance?
I did. I loved that. It was the ending I needed, where everyone,
Yeah.
you get a proper goodbye to everybody, because it's not like they're bad storytellers, right? Like when I played through Mass Effect 3, I cried like passionate, meaningful tears more than I've ever cried in any game. And I mean, I think if the game hadn't been so good, I wouldn't have cared about the ending. But it was so good.
Did you take Javik into that final confrontation in that DLC, by the way?
No.
Because, oh my god, he has the best line in the whole fucking series if you take him into
Ooh.
that. Yeah, literally, as you're going into the final confrontation with that DLC, he goes, Shepard, back in my day, my people had a saying, kill her. That's it. That's the saying.
That's pretty good.
I love
I
him so much.
I don't know if it beats my favorite line, where it's just like, no one steals my ship, not even me.
You save it with
Oh.
a fucking toothbrush. Oh my god,
Oh,
it's so good.
I love her so much. Anyways.
She does a fantastic job as Ash in Overwatch.
Yep.
It's
She's
so
such a
hard.
fantastic voice actress in general.
It's so hard not to hear just like Commander Shepard screaming for Bob to do something.
All right. Well, I think that's good. I think we're gonna wrap it up here with our discussion about canon endings and multiple endings in their roles in RPGs. I want to know what you guys think about them. Let me know. I'm genuinely interested in this topic. I think it's we've already swayed one opinion, so let's see if we can sway some more. You can find me on Twitter at BillionairesXP. You can find me on Instagram and Twitch at Rafe Thegram. You'll see me streaming usually Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and Twitch, skyknight.xp on Instagram, and I stream on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Irene, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at irogue_xp on Twitter and Twitch, normally streaming at 7 on Thursdays.
And Mel, where are you at on the interwebs?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Feminist Gamer and on Twitter at Feminist Gamer 3. And I do a D&D actual play live stream every Wednesday at 6:30. So check it out on Twitch, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Excelente. All right. And our website, xpbillionaires.wordpress.com. Get the latest in quickfire reviews, stream schedules, and written pieces. Definitely check those out. And check out our monthly newsletter on our coffee page. That's coffee.com/xpbillionaires. If you'd like to make a donation, we definitely would appreciate it. But again, spread the love. That's more important in this case. So that is going to be it for us this week. And don't worry, developers will always come up with new ways for you to keep gaming, and we'll tell you all about them when we can. See you next week, guys.
Bye!
Bye.
Bye-bye.